In a recent neurosurgery, doctors found a worm in a human's brain. A 64-year-old Australian woman presented with symptoms doctors can't identify. They scheduled exploratory neurosurgery to find out the cause of the symptoms. Dr. Hari Priya Bandi was one of the neurosurgeons.
Not what we were expecting. Everyone was shocked.
Doc Bandi says she's seen an abnormal area in her right frontal lobe of the brain and pulled the worm out itself using tumor handling forceps. It was warm and alive.
The worm that we found was happily moving quite vigorously outside of the brain.
Measures 8 centimeters long, finds this parasitic roundworm and can cause symptoms of forgetfulness and depression. These surgical team were incorrect in hypothesis that they would find cancerous tumors of the patient's brain, persisted in urging to squash the worm.
In my normal life, if I was in the garden, if I saw a worm, I'd be screaming and screeching like the rest of us. But in theatre, we normally are very controlled, and it's certainly not what we expect, but we took that time to sort of take stock, not squish the worm, so the scientists were able to identify exactly what it was. But it's definitely one of those moments in my life where I'm still a little bit traumatised. Since then, holding these forceps has caused me some degree of stress.
As per this patient whose worm was taken out of her brain, doctor says she's doing well.
Really pleased to have an answer. For many months she'd been really struggling, and it was really courageous of her to come and have further testing after not having answers for so very long.
How did the worm reach the brain? It is up for debate. The worm was identified as Pidascaris subversi, found in touching or consuming native grass, found usually in pythons. Patient lived nearby lake that habitat snakes. Somewhat believe she ate greens in that area. Though the worm was forced out of her brain, the patient been treated in case the larvae invades other organs.
We have noted, however, that other snakes around the world carry this parasite. So it is quite likely that other new cases will be documented. So hopefully raising awareness of that will help other healthcare workers around the world. Yeah, look, absolutely. This is not something that we regularly see. And the neurosurgeon will tell you as well that when you operate on someone's brain and you take a biopsy or something, you never expect to encounter something living. So it was a big, big shock to her. We certainly know in humans there are parasites that can get into the brain, which are known parasites of human beings, but something this large, 8 centimeters, and wriggling around, and something that had never before been seen in a human being was certainly something we'll never forget. From, in fact, the laboratory, one of my colleagues who's a microbiologist said, look, the surgeons have just called from the neurosurgery theatre and they've removed this live wriggling 8 centimeter worm from a patient's brain. So we'll have to go and see them and work out what it is and how to treat them. So that's how it sort of unfolded. And then the next 24 hours was a flurry of activity as we tried to work out, okay, what kind of worm is this? For me, who's sort of one level removed or 1 degree of separation removed from the patient, and for people hearing the story who are many degrees separated from this patient, they feel sort of very queasy and uncomfortable thinking about it. So you can imagine how it would have been for her. And a very courageous and patient who went through this long diagnostic and therapeutic process. And once the worm was discovered and we treated her, she left hospital and she went back to the community, went back to her home, and she's been there ever since. But obviously, because this was an unusual case at so many levels, we're keeping a close eye on her and keeping in touch. Obviously, we were surprised. We never necessarily thought we'd be the ones to find a new infection in the world, but we certainly knew that this sort of thing can happen as human beings and animal habitats grow closer together. But yes, it's not something we expect to see in everyone. We have noted, however, that other snakes around the world carry this parasite. So it is quite likely that other new cases will be documented. So hopefully raising awareness of that will help other healthcare workers around the world.